please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos. The initial part of our trip from Cape Town to the West Coast National Park and Langebaan took us up the R27 to Yzerfontein, the first major settlement on the west coast, then on to Langebaan and to the overnight stay at our self-catering cottage. Yzerfontein is known for its unique 16-mile beach, the longest uninterrupted sandy beach on any South African coastline, stretching north of the main beach all the way to the West Coast National Park. At first light the next morning, it was time to drive down into the West Coast National Park and start exploring. Good morning and welcome back to another episode on the West Coast. We stayed in Langebaan last night and we came through just after sunrise this morning into the beautiful West Coast National Park. Now it's very close to Cape Town, only about an hour and a half's drive from Cape Town. It's on the Langebaan Lagoon and it is just absolutely stunning. There are some beautiful coves and beautiful beaches. Kraalbaai is one of the favorites because it's just absolutely blue, shallow water, which is of course opposite Shark Bay. The Shark Bay is on the Langebaan side, which is where all the kite surfers learn to kite surf, and Kraalbaai is on the opposite side of the lagoon. Just absolutely incredible. There are some beautiful vantage points where we are right now. We've driven up to Seekombuis, and there's a beautiful massive dome rock and we're overlooking the entire lagoon. Stunning views, and we're going to catch a little bit of this now in the early morning light, and then we're going to explore the rest of the reserve. It's just really stunning. If you have a chance, you've got to come to the West Coast National Park. There is accommodation in the park, but it's quite expensive. And there are houseboats on the lagoon at Kraalbaai, but they are in the region of about 4,500 rand to 6,500 rand a night. But they sleep 8 people and they sleep 6 people. So if you want a great houseboat experience, Kraalbaai is the place inside West Coast National Park. Let's go and have a look around. There are several bird hides within the national park, and Abrahamskraal hide was one of the easiest to get to, allowing for some close-up birding imagery and a very close encounter with a pair of swallows nesting inside the hide. Swallows. There are 2 swallows there. So we're right down at Tsarbank, Tsar Bank, and that's kind of the furthest point you can actually drive to in the West Coast National Park. After Kraalbaai, it becomes a gravel road and it goes right down where there's actually a gate to the Postberg Flower Reserve, but that's not accessible to the general public. So we've come down on the gravel roads down to the picnic sites at Tsarbank, and that's the furthest you can actually drive in the park as a normal member of the public, unless you're booked an accommodation anywhere inside the reserve. Those areas are blocked off. Possibly what looked like a juvenile mole snake. I thought it was a cobra, but it's too shiny, it's a mole snake. After an incredible but way too short day in the West Coast National Park, we headed back to Langebaan, a hotspot for wind sports and water sports. On our way to Paternoster, we found a short gravel road from the R399 from Friedenberg that took us to what can best be described as a fishing and picnic spot named Trekossenkraal Beach. I've never been down here, so we're going to go and have a look. It's quite a long gravel road, I would say probably 10 or 15 kilometers, but I think I'm going to deflate tires just a little bit because it's quite corrugated and rough, so I'm going to drop the pressures a bit now. Down to 1.3. I think I'm going to pattern just to 1 bar. We're not too heavily loaded. The sand roads take you around a large 4-kilometer loop to Trekossenkraal Beach and back to the main gravel road. The area was deserted, but it's probably a popular spot for local fishermen over the weekends. Using the Tracks4Africa trip planner on my Android tablet mounted on the dashboard, we located a self-catering B&B in Paternoster and added it to our route. We would spend the next 2 nights in Paternoster, giving us enough time to explore the village and a potential 4x4 sand track from Paternoster to Britannia Bay. The Mosselbank self-catering unit we stayed in was a fully equipped 4-sleeper with a private, direct beach access path. Just west of Paternoster is the Cape Columbine Nature Reserve and home to Seekombuis restaurant, right on the beach.
We have visited Seekombuis several times in the past, having visited the Cape Columbine Nature Reserve, and we are here again. We can't leave Paternoster without visiting. A very, very gloomy day, but lovely nonetheless. We're sitting outside, admiring the ocean views. There's quite a lot of bird life around, and nice to be back again.
A favourite location in the Paternoster area with weekend campers and fishermen is the picturesque Tietiesbaai in the Cape Columbine Nature Reserve. The crystal blue waters and protected bay make it a paradise for seaside camping. Early the next morning, we added the 10-kilometre short sand track to our West Coast trip plan in the Tracks4Africa trip planner. Once complete, I then synchronise it with the Tracks4Africa guide app on my Android tablet. Using our live location, we are able to see exactly where we are in relation to the route. So we found this tiny little 4x4 track that leads out of Paternoster and goes directly up to Britannia Bay. It is marked on Tracks4Africa as a dotted line. We have had reports from the guest house owner that people do get stuck on this road, but probably because they're not in four-wheel drive or don't have a 4x4. So let's go and have a look at the road. The road is reasonably sandy in places, so deflating tyres is strongly recommended. Experienced drivers may get through in two-wheel drive, but perhaps not when it's hot and the sand is bone dry. There's just one small gate at the opposite end. This is called the Groot Paternoster Private Nature Reserve. We've just driven through, and there is a gate at the other end just before Britannia Bay that you've got to just keep closed. So we've got a bit of a wet start again today. I mean, it is still early October, it's the 10th of October, so there is still a lot of rain cycles around, and it can be expected on the west coast that you would get some fog or some passing showers. Yesterday was the same, but today we're moving from Paternoster, quite a short drive up to Velddrif and Port Owen, incredibly beautiful location. So it's just a short transit drive today to get us up to the next location, and we'll be there for 2 nights in and around the Velddrif Port Owen area. Absolutely stunning area.
found a self-catering waterfront apartment right in the heart of Port Owen Marina. Port Owen has its own slipway, 3 restaurants, a microbrewery, a gin distillery and a few shops. The river is navigable for 56 kilometers for shallow draft boats. The marina is adjacent to the fishing harbour of Leiplek and is surrounded by a salt marsh. The bird life on the Berg River estuary boasts over 350 different sea, land and river birds.
We are heading out of Velddrif and we decided to come for a little stroll down Bokkom. I really think that a visit to this part of the world is not complete without just exploring this beautiful, beautiful little dirt track alongside the estuary. There are Bokkom factories here, which is kind of dried fish biltong.